know Daniel walked out of the mine, his life has changed forever. His life will never be the same. Ben, it's very difficult to talk about Ben because as the years go by, you start forgetting things.
And this is a 3 News special on the Pike River mine explosion, and there are fresh developments, though still no contact with the 29 miners underground.
An explosion at a coal mine in New Zealand has trapped more than 30 miners underground. The blast took place at the Pike River Mine, north of the town of Greymouth on the west coast of the South Island.
The agonising wait continues for family and friends of the 29 miners missing.
It's believed the missing miners are up to 2.5 kilometres inside the mine. 2 miners working closer to the main entrance walked out of the mine shaft after the blast. The others are trapped somewhere in this labyrinth of tunnels.
That Friday afternoon, my son got his first paycheck from working for his first job, and he said to me, "Mum, I want to shout Dad a beer. Do you want to take me to the pub and we'll have a game of pool?" And I said, "That sounded awesome, son." So he left a note on the kitchen table for his dad saying, "Come down, I want to shout your beer to our local hotel." And so Robin, my son, went to the pub with me. We were playing a few games of pool and sitting enjoying a couple of raspberry and cokes, and then the phone rang.
I was at work and came home at about just after 5, and as I walked in the door, the phone rang and it was my sister, and she said, "Are you at home?" And I said yes, and she said, "Quick, put the TV on, there's been an explosion at Pike." And I thought, "What? Okay." So I turned the TV on, and sure enough, there it was. And I thought, "Oh, okay. There's been an explosion at Pike. Okay, so this affects me how?" And then I started thinking what shifts the boys were on. I dropped the phone. I said to my son, "Come on, we have to go, There's been an explosion at Pike." And with that, we ran out of the hotel, hopped in the car. It wasn't really anything of any great urgency. It didn't seem like it was overly important. And so we continued to watch for the next couple of hours, and every sort of few minutes there'd be updates on what was going on. And after a couple of hours I started thinking, oh, this could be a little bit more serious than what I first thought. I left the kids at home, and we took off, and every corner we came to I was hoping to find his work van, this yellow work van, come round the corner, but it never did. And we got to the Pike gates there, and I was one of the first families on site, and they fortunately allowed me to go through the gates where they wouldn't allow any other families. On the way over to the coast, we had to pull over and take a phone call to say that the boy's grandfather had died. At about 9:30 that night, he'd passed away, and they think, watching the news, that 2 of his grandsons were down the mine. And we got to Greymouth at about midnight, and by that stage we knew that Daniel was out. We didn't know what state he was in, just that he'd been taken to hospital, and that there was another man who we didn't know who that man was, but that's all we knew at that stage. Daniel was semi-conscious, and his face was all black, and he every time he spoke, he had an oxygen mask on, and he'd pull the oxygen mask off to talk, and his breath was just this gas, whatever gas it was all coming out the pores of his skin, and it was just, the whole room just reeked of it. And when I asked him, "What about Ben?" and he said, "I don't know, Mum, I just don't know. It's not looking good." It was like it wasn't happening. When you're in a situation where you're outside looking in, that's what it felt like. It felt like I was in a dream, a nightmare. I was really tired as to whether I'd stay at Pike or be home with my children, because I loved my husband so much that I wanted to be there when he walked out. But my children were at home needing their mother. I packed a thermos flask and a sleeping bag and thought that I was going to camp up on the mountain for a couple of days. until they got them out.
We refused to leave because I wasn't leaving without my husband coming home with me, thinking that it had only been a minor explosion. They were trapped and they were going to be rescued.
No time did I ever even consider that they wouldn't make it out.
All the information we had received was it was still a rescue. The guys were fine. They were in the refuge chamber. There was plenty of water, plenty of food, and that they'd go in eventually once the methane levels had dropped, and they'd come home.
I thought he might have like a broken arm or a cut or a scratch or something, and that they'd all just be sitting there. We were always aware of the fact that if anything happens in the mines rescue go in, they rescue them, they bring them out. So I was safe in the knowledge that that's what would happen. That's what would happen.
Second devastating explosion at the Pike River coal mine in New Zealand has ended any hope of rescue for the 29 men trapped inside.
We begin with the tragic news from New Zealand, the death of all 29 miners.
Police in New Zealand say all 29 workers missing in a coal mine are dead after a second explosion occurred on Wednesday. The initial blast happened back on Friday, but rescuers have been unable to enter the mine because of explosive and poisonous gases.
Just told us they can't enter in. It's just had a massive explosion. No one can survive and they can't get in just yet.
What was the reaction from the family?
What do you think? That's why they got so many police, because otherwise they'd be ripping them apart.
The second blast at the Pike River Mine was reportedly just as strong as the first, but there's still no known cause for either blast. Authorities are now going into recovery as opposed to rescue mode.
A second explosion at the Pike River Mine confirms our very worst fears. 29 men whose names and faces we've all come to know will never walk amongst us again. Questions must now be asked and answered about how such a tragedy was able to occur and how we can prevent another happening in the future.
He was a great kid. Gave me lots of grey hairs, as all young men do. He was at that age where, you know, he liked fast cars and smoking weed and all the things that a lot of young people seem to enjoy. But he was also a very loving, caring, sensitive, very bright boy, and his aim in life was to be a paleontologist. He told me that when he was 5 years old. I had to go and look it up in the dictionary because I didn't even know what a paleontologist was. Probably the worst day of my life.
My husband was my soulmate, and my children absolutely adored the ground he walked on. Like, I said goodbye to my husband that morning, and my children said goodbye to their father, and that was it. That was the last time we ever got to see him, and it's something that we'll never get over, and it's still really raw and hurts to this day. Men, women or children who go to work in New Zealand are all entitled to a safe work environment. And I thought my husband was safe in there. I thought that, you know, with Pike being a new coal mine, that they would have the latest technology, not knowing that Pike River management took shortcuts. What happened that day, we still really don't know. There's been a royal commission and best guesses as to what caused the explosion down there, but no one actually knows for sure what triggered that explosion, what ignited the methane in the mine. It was 29 who never returned home to their families that night, and for that reason, for that very reason, Sonya and I and a few others really decided that that's just not good enough.
So tell us about Standard Pike.
The families of the 29 men killed in the Pike River mining disaster are blocking the road into the mine to protest the entrance being sealed off. The government says it's not safe to re-enter, but the families disagree.
So Stand with Pike started when Anna decided she had heard rumours that possibly they were going to seal the mine, seal the drift permanently. So she rang me up and said, I'm going to go up to the mine and I'm not leaving. I'm going to stay up there. And she hadn't long finished chemotherapy, so I wasn't particularly happy with that. And I told her, no, Anna, you can't do that. And she said, I don't frickin' care, I'm doing it. So I said, oh, okay, I'm coming over, I'm coming too. So Anna went up, we went up and camped up at the second gates in a little pop-top caravan, and we were just going to camp up there, and we didn't know how long for.
Blocking the only road to the Pike River Mine, families of those killed 6 years ago sending a clear message to the Prime Minister.
The protest here today is to let John Key know that we're not going away.
We sat at the gates in dead chairs and looked up at the stars and discussed about what we were doing and why we were doing it. And the following day we were not sure that anybody would even turn up, but they did. And loads of media turned up. So they started this page on Facebook, and it started off with a few hundred to 1,000 to 6,000 to 10,000. It just went through the roof, and over the day the media calls and things that happened just grew and grew and grew.
Solid Energy has had to ask for more time to get Pike River Mine sealed. Mark Pisey, the Chief Inspector for High Hazards at WorkSafe, says the mine's owner, Solid Energy, made the application for an extension due to circumstances beyond its control. Solid Energy says it has been prevented from putting the final seal in place.
We found out, I think it was on the Saturday, that they actually were sealing that mine on the Monday. They were starting the sealing of it, and it was just absolute fluke that we just happened to be there on that weekend. So we prevented them from sealing it, first of all, and we also found out who the concrete company was that was going to be providing the concrete for the seal, and appealed to their better nature, and they agreed not to supply the concrete, which and then was like a domino effect, because then no other concrete company would supply the concrete either. So that meant that Solid Energy were kind of at a standstill, because there was nothing they could really do.
We might be small people, but it's turned into a massive, massive campaign now, with a lot of support from many different people from all different walks of life.
You guys are probably the least tough looking people I know on the outside. Like, I mean, if I was walking down a street and I saw you, I wouldn't think blooming political protesters that have managed probably one of the most successful protesters in New Zealand.
Shows you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, doesn't it? We feel very proud and honoured and surprised and sad and we have satisfaction from doing what we're doing, but we've also very disappointed in the fact that we've even had to do it, and that we've had to push ourselves to the degree that we have to get the results that we've got.
And I also think that, we might look like we haven't got any fight in us, but we can be real bolshy bitches at times, and if we have something to say, we will say it.
Now, on that note, who have you just met and who are you going to meet today?
We've just met with Winston, and we've met with media, and we're about to go and meet with Jacinda, and then we're going to meet with Mark Mitchell, who is the National Party's, or the opposition party's, minister, spokesperson for Pike. So we're going to go and try and find out what his views on Pike are, and if they're not the right views, then we'll try and turn him.
Now we've got this far, Sonya, with not being too happy at certain people at times, so yeah.
So the Prime Minister of New Zealand is inviting you.
Of course, because we like that.
What are you going to talk with her about? In a broad sense.
Where she buys her clothes, or where she gets her shoes,
What's her favourite
how
coffee?
her baby is, how old she is now.
Favourite colour.
What do you think we're going to talk to her about?
So miners are going on the 3rd.
Yes, they are.
How do you feel about that?
Nervously excited to actually get here and know that it's really going to happen and nothing is going to stop us now. Puts me in a really happy place, and I'm really excited to actually be a part of that, because it's actually history in the making. This, you know, we fought the government,
and it's surreal,
and we've
very
won.
surreal as well. It doesn't. Sometimes I stop and think, is this actually happening, or am I dreaming this?
And
so
it is.
It's because we've been fighting for so long. And
to get some closure and some truth behind what happened at Pike, this needs to happen. So it's been a hard battle, eh, mate?
Yeah, it's been a very hard battle, and it's not going to be over on the 3rd either.
There were so many people that day.
The 3rd is just the part of it. It's the first part of it. It's the beginning of it. But yeah, the 3rd. Wow, 2 weeks on Friday.
Exciting, eh? Really exciting.
And I really do appreciate you guys just letting me into everything. You guys are some of my favourite people. And you're seriously, and I know you probably...
Well, you're part of our family, mate.
I know that you probably won't want to hear it.
Yeah, we
but
do.
You guys are like probably the most inspiring.
The most, what did he say?
Inspiring people I know.
Oh,
I really look up to you guys.
Theo.
And it isn't just because of the
Oh, you little
that one.
shit. Come here.
I wouldn't mind a bit of a snooze, so we've got to be at Parliament at 3:30.
Yeah.
Theo, thank you.
Thanks, Theo. See you soon.
See you soon.
Oh, you want me on that side? Oh, well, that's not what you said.
Alright. So Theo, how many girls have you killed?
Shit, I'm cold.
Toughen up.
Oh,
Toughen up.
you know.
Hey guys, serious for a minute.
That's what they do with it, it's not the size. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. It should be basically the same thing as what we said to the media, the same issues, introducing Rowdy and the democratic thing and stuff, and what we're hoping for.
Yeah.
But in particular, we really want to emphasise the value and how cool she's coming on the 3rd, because there is some pressure for her not to. So we want to make sure that she is.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yep, good as gold.
What am I doing? Oh, I forgot. Oh yes, please.
Preparations are underway ahead of the formal re-entry of Pike River Mine next week. The bodies of 29 men are still inside the mine after it exploded in 2010. The Pike River Recovery Agency has been working for months planning the re-entry of the drift, a 2.3 kilometre tunnel that leads up to the mine workings. responsible for the delay in re-entering the Pike River Mine. But the last-minute delay didn't stop the families making an emotional trip up to the entrance of the mine today, where 29 men lost their lives more than 8 years ago.
Fresh hope that the families might in fact see justice finally be done. When New Zealanders stand up and demand better health and safety practices in their workplaces, because losing your loved one unexpectedly is a living hell. So here is a setback today, and I will learn more about that setback at the same time as you. And let's just keep planning as you have done for so many years and seek that closure.
Oh, I'm feeling excited. It's great. I mean, we knew last time when they, said they couldn't do it, we knew they were reassuring us that this was a very minor problem. So we knew it was only going to be a very short time before it happened again. But it's very momentous, and we feel quite calm about it. And it's just a great thing. It's 8.5 years in the planning, and now it's all happening. So it's a great feeling. Thank you. Thank you. Talk to you later. Bye-bye. Was that all right? You've got a body. You've got them. You've retrieved them. You've got them, and you have a funeral. Your heart and your mind can slowly go through the grieving process, and we haven't been able to do that. And so people say to us all the time, we get it all the time, just random comments. I don't think it's time to move on. Chance would be a fine thing. Do they not think we want to move on? But how can we move on when the job's not done? We're not finished.
These guys are in a hole in the ground, and more than 30 people know exactly where they are, that work with them, and believe that it can be done. And yet no one's then would hear or listen.
And it's one of those things, because we don't know what's going to happen and what's going to come out of it. It's a scary thought, because it's a huge responsibility on our shoulders, because we have said so much for so many years. We've talked the talk, and now we're walking the walk, but we don't know. We're walking into the unknown, and it just shows that two, 3 people can. Little people, everyday people can make a difference. You've been called little in my life. No, but you know what I mean. Like
that was the point that was made on the day, when it was announced, and I think that was that.
Yeah. Everyday people
it was a victory for
fight for what they believe in, and they can actually make a difference. I tell people who put something that and they're frustrated with it, and I say, no, don't accept that. You need to take it further. So found a little bit of militancy.
You become Bolshevik, is what's happened. She argues with everybody.
Yeah. But we've just had to be. We may never get anywhere else, but we're doing it. We're doing the best that we can. We're going up there, and God knows what we find or won't find, but we're doing it, and that's the main thing. At least we tried. That's right.
It's so lovely to meet you.
Very nice to meet you too.
These people look a little bit more enthused. They remind me of
Sorry, I'm sweaty.
We do tend to be surprised by spontaneous policy announcements.
It's always very early, and she insists that I get up, and if I don't, she gets on my bed and bounces up and down and pulls the blanket off me and throws pillows at me and insists that I get out of bed. So
another one that hasn't grown up.
That would be
getting the evidence and finding them justice is the best respect we can offer.
Well said, Rowdy.
He's very good, mate.
He's good, isn't he, Rob? He's very good at that stuff.
Rob couldn't have said that better.
I know.
You sort of sat on you with what he said. He's bloody great when he's, yeah. Right, so
See, honey, that's what I was trying to say, and that's where I was concerned.
You're sweating a bit, Rowdy. Why are you sweating? Is that because you've had your steak, Sonya's steak, my chips, Theo's chips, Tony?
Anyone else?
No, I'm all good. Thank you. I could feel her eyes looking at me. Because they're in coalition too, the Aussie government. So they got in by
Pretty cosy,
coalition.
What time?
10 past, I've got to be there at 10 to 7.
10 to 7.
10 to 7.
And it's breakfast afterwards, isn't it?
Yeah. I'll get here.
So we'll come back here for breakfast?
10 to 7, I'll get here at 10 to 7. 10 to 7.
Go to Olivia's carriage.
I'll get here at 6:30.
Get on, good, Olivia. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'll be here at 6:30.
Why are we 20 minutes early? They told us to be
Yes. So you're bang on time, it's 10 to 7, but
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this wouldn't be happening without the coalition government for sure. We tried for so many years, and nobody even wanted to listen. And it just shows you when you get a government that's willing to listen and actually listen and understand what's going on, and it's just been a whole different culture. We haven't had to fight or argue or anything, and it's just been so much easier, and here we are 18 months, that's all it took. Well, there's evidence, there's an electrical thingy, which I can't think of the name of at the moment, but it's like a memory card and a camera, which will hold a whole lot of information about possibly what happened and why it happened, but also there might be other bits of evidence too, including possibly some body parts. So it's one of those things we just don't know, and that's the thing. There's 500 metres of the drift that hasn't been explored. We have seen footage up to where Russell's loader is at around 1,500 metres, and I was really surprised because it just looks like a road with a in a cave. And in fact, in the footage that we saw, it looked like somebody had been up there and swept it with a brush and shovel. Well, thank you. Thank you. It's just surreal, it's really strange, an odd feeling. It's almost like, you're waiting for something to happen and it's not going to. So I just can't believe it's finally here. It's just the most weirdest feeling. It's been a long time. And we've stood on this road many times, many times, and just felt nothing but despair and no hope. And now I can look up at those mountains and think, we're almost here.
Yeah. Okay.
We've proved them all wrong, haven't we?
Yeah.
We should be really proud of ourselves, families, each and every one of us, because we didn't give up.
This is for them, this is for us, and this is for all the people in New Zealand who go to work every day and expect to come home at the end of the day safely. This is for everybody, and it just shows you that if you stand up for what you believe in, you can do anything. This just all seems surreal, doesn't it? It's weird, it's bizarre.
Hey, look, we've got... No, it's not going to be a duct tape sort of project. But hey, it comes in handy.
Duct tape and fixing.
Yeah.
Great.
It's multi-purpose. Yeah.
Do you know, when we first came up here earlier, how unnerving it was to come up here and see men working in there all the time? It just took you back to thinking, oh, that could be me.
I'd say there's actually no silt built up in the wheels or anything. It's all pretty clear. And yeah, so we went up as far as the Gabion baskets and everything like that. So, and we could actually shine our lights ahead and see the 170 metre wall and see the open doors and that. So yeah, really good.
Awesome.
Excellent. No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah, you know, as the boys said, as Kirk said, it's as they left it.
1, 2,
1, 2, 3.
You take back the start and just go over the top. The boys at the bottom, the men in the mine, the crew at the coalface, were working shift time when a blast from the bells of the earth blew the line, and there's 29 guys in the ground. Words spread in whispers of shocked disbelief, and the family stood vigil for those trapped beneath. Then another explosion, death was the thief, then there's 29 ghosts in the ground. I turned on the TV, the newsreader said they all must have perished, they have to be dead. And there were faces and names in the paper I read, and 29 ghosts in the ground. 29 ghosts in the Pike River Mine, and the churches were full of praying and crying, and the bell on the steeple rang 29 times for the 29 lost in the ground. Confusion and anger, and families were robbed of husbands and brothers, some cursed at the job. There was calling of names and calling to God, and 29 ghosts in the ground. 29 ghosts in the Pike River Mine, and the churches were full of praying and crying, and a bell on the steeple rang 29 times for the 29 ghosts in the ground. They had an inquiry to portion the blame. Corporate lawyers made money from the family's pain, and I see on the news they're going in again for those 29